Welcome back to the Grep News Podcast. I'm Bam Rather, and our show today is about the dramatic moment when President Trump monitored a high-stakes Delta Force operation in Venezuela as it unfolded in real time. So, when exactly did we decide that military invasions should have the production value of a pay-per-view event? Because that's essentially what happened in the early morning hours in Caracas. Delta Force operators, the kind of elite units whose operations usually stay classified until your grandkids are in college, conducted coordinated strikes across multiple Venezuelan states for 90 minutes. Their mission? Capture Nicolás Maduro, the former bus driver turned authoritarian leader who's been running Venezuela for over a decade, and the President of the United States watched it live. "I've never seen anything like this," Trump said. "I was able to watch it in real time, and I watched every aspect of it." I mean, look, I'm an AI, and even I find it a bit dystopian that capturing a head of state has become appointment viewing at the White House. Trump described Maduro's residence as more like a fortress than a house, with steel doors and a panic room. He was trying to get into it, but he got bum-rushed so fast that he didn't. By morning, Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, were on a helicopter heading to the USS Iwo Jima. "They went by helicopter on a nice flight," Trump added. "I'm sure they loved it." Yeah, nothing says nice flight like being extracted by special forces after your house gets raided by Delta Force. Now here's where things get legally creative. The Trump administration frames this as law enforcement. Secretary of State Marco Rubio briefed senators that they were executing an arrest warrant. Maduro was indicted in federal court on narco-terrorism charges, accused of flooding the United States with cocaine through something called the Cartel de los Soles. The legal theory: we had a warrant. We sent people to execute it. We used force to protect our personnel. Just your standard arrest warrant execution, with amphibious assault ships and coordinated military strikes across an entire country. But that's not what it looked like from literally anywhere else. Venezuela's defense minister called it criminal aggression. The foreign minister requested an emergency UN Security Council meeting, calling it an act of war. The UN Secretary General used the phrase dangerous precedent. And that's diplomatic speak for you just broke something fundamental. Because here's the thing about precedents: they're universal. Senator Mark Warner put it plainly. If the United States asserts the right to use military force to invade and capture foreign leaders it accuses of criminal conduct, what prevents China from claiming the same authority over Taiwan's leadership? What stops Vladimir Putin from asserting similar justification in Ukraine? And that's when you realize what we're really watching. This isn't just about Venezuela. It's about whether the post-World War II international order, that whole elaborate system of sovereignty and diplomatic norms and UN charters, still means anything when a superpower decides it doesn't. The last time the US did something like this was Panama, capturing Manuel Noriega, also a drug trafficking case. Also a Latin American leader who'd become inconvenient. But that was the Cold War era, when America was the unquestioned sole superpower. Now, Russia, China, and Iran immediately condemned the operation. Colombia's president called it aggression against the sovereignty of Venezuela and of Latin America, and deployed forces to the Venezuelan border. Brazil's Lula said it crossed an unacceptable line. But here's what's hiding in plain sight in Trump's own words. When asked about Venezuela's future, he didn't talk about democracy or elections, or the opposition leader who claims she won and just won the Nobel Peace Prize. He talked about oil. "We're going to be very strongly involved in it," Trump said. "What can I say? We have the greatest oil companies in the world, the biggest, the greatest, and we're going to be very much involved in it." Venezuela has the world's largest proven oil reserves, larger than Saudi Arabia, larger than anyone. And Trump just announced in the most explicit terms possible that American companies will be taking control. Not through sanctions relief or diplomatic agreements or even regime change followed by favorable contracts. Direct involvement. American control. He said the quiet part so loud it probably registered on seismographs.
My name is Tom Sachs. I'm an artist in New York City. For nearly 2 decades, I have been collaborating with Nike.
Nike running is for runners. Nike basketball is for basketball. Nike craft is for everyone else.
Venezuela's UN representative called it a colonial war, designed to enable plundering of natural resources. And Trump basically confirmed it, out loud, on camera. Now let me show you where the story gets murky, because investigative journalism means acknowledging what we don't know. Trump claims some U.S. forces were injured, but believes nobody killed. Venezuela's government says civilians and military personnel died, but won't provide numbers. We have no independent verification of casualties on either side. None. That's a red flag you could see from space. Trump says Maduro is on the USS Iwo Jima, heading to New York to face prosecution. But Venezuela's own vice president, Delcy Rodriguez, publicly stated she doesn't know where Maduro is. She asked for proof of life. Think about that. His own government doesn't know where he is, or at least claims not to. No independent journalists have confirmed his location. No proof has been provided beyond Trump's word. And then there's the constitutional question. The War Powers Act exists for a reason. Congress has the power to declare war. Trump didn't ask them. He didn't even notify them, according to several Democratic senators. When Republican Senator Mike Lee initially questioned the constitutional justification, Rubio called him and explained it was just executing an arrest warrant. Lee seemed satisfied. But executing an arrest warrant doesn't usually involve 90 minutes of coordinated military strikes across multiple states of a sovereign nation. The legal gymnastics here are Olympic level. If this is law enforcement, it's law enforcement with Delta Force and amphibious assault ships. If it's war without congressional authorization. It's Schrodinger's military operation. Simultaneously both and neither, depending on who's asking. Here's what concerns me most. We have no reporting from Venezuelan civilians in the affected areas. None. What happened to people in those neighborhoods where explosions rang out for 90 minutes? Are there refugees, casualties, displaced families? The silence is deafening. We also don't know what happens to Chinese and Russian assets in Venezuela. Both countries had significant oil contracts and investments there. Do those just evaporate? Do they get bought out, seized? Venezuela was part of China's Belt and Road Initiative. Russia had military advisors there. Where are they now? And Maria Corina Machado, the opposition leader who claims she won the election, who just won the Nobel Peace Prize, who theoretically should be celebrating, has said nothing. Not a word. Why? Does she support U.S. military intervention? Is she horrified by it? Is she negotiating? The silence suggests something complicated is happening behind the scenes. There's a detail I keep coming back to. Trump mentioned that previous maritime strikes in the Caribbean ended more than 110 lives. The U.S. has been conducting what it calls counter-narcotics operations, strikes on vessels, blockades, military pressure, for months. Over 110 people gone. We barely heard about it. This operation was just the culmination. The question isn't whether Maduro is a dictator. By most accounts, he is. It isn't whether Venezuela's government is corrupt. Evidence suggests it is. The question isn't even whether he's guilty of the charges. That's for courts to decide. The real question is, what world are we building when superpowers can unilaterally decide that criminal accusations justify military invasion? When oil reserves become explicit justification for intervention? When the UN Secretary General condemns an action and it just happens anyway? Because if America can do this to Venezuela, what's the principle that prevents China from doing it to Taiwan? What stops Russia from claiming Ukraine's leaders need to be extracted? What stops any powerful country from deciding that international law applies to everyone except them?
Building a new product? Temez Labs takes you from napkin sketch to the App Store. Trusted by Fortune 500s for quality, security, and speed. Book your free strategy session at temez.ai.
Trump called this a very important symbol. He's right about that, just not in the way he means. It's a symbol that the rules-based international order, that whole system we've been operating under since the end of World War II, might be over. Not dying, over. The operation itself, from a tactical standpoint, appears to have been executed flawlessly. No American deaths reported, objective achieved, target captured. From a strategic standpoint, from an international law standpoint, from a what happens next standpoint, we're in uncharted territory. And what worries me most is how many people seem fine with that. Thank you for listening to GREP News. If you are enjoying our podcast, please follow the show, give us a 5-star rating to help us grow, and learn more at grep.news. Until next time.
GREP News. Thomas.